All right. So, let's see. May 31st, 2023, 9:09 p.m. My mom checked out a book from the library. Uh, I guess it's entitled Laura Dern and Diane Ladd, Honey Baby Mine. A mother and daughter talk life, death, love, and banana pudding. Interesting. And I've yet to read it, but I gotta hurry up and read it because I'm sure it's gonna be due sometime soon. So I thought I might read a little bit on stream. Um, let's see. They start off with a Tennessee Williams quote, which is good, and from one of his essays, which is interesting because I have a short story anthology from Tennessee, and I think I have all of his plays, but I don't have his essays, so that's interesting. Let's see. Life is an unanswered question, but let's still believe in the dignity and importance of the question. Ooh, that's a good one. I don't know. I feel like I need to reread that time and time again to either believe in it or fool myself, or both. Tennessee Williams, Where I Live selected essays. And it looks like Diane has written a couple more books, maybe different memoirs, but. And of course, they put in cute pictures, which I love. I love looking at pictures. These are nice pictures of Diane and Laura. Oh, there's so many. They've had a fascinating life. They're both so beautiful. All right. Honey Baby Mine. For mothers and daughters, fathers and sons, and for any two people willing to tell each other the truth or at least to boldly ask the questions. Which, that's a nice dedication because I watched a film last year called Autumn Sonata. And it was a bit of a stretch, but it was about a mother-daughter relationship, and they just kind of opened the wounds that were always closed. And I wrote about how once you open them, you can't, once you ring the bell, you can't unring it. And the question is, are you ever going to ring the bell? Or are you going to live always wondering why? You can still ask the question and the question not be answered, and you're still going to be wondering why, but you ask the question. And I think it takes balls to ask the question. And for some reason, there's a foreword by Reese Witherspoon, which, yeah, I'll still read it, I guess. How long is it? 4 pages? Okay. Foreword by Reese Witherspoon. The first time I met Diane Ladd, the woman I had admired since I saw her in Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore, good movie, she was seated in a screening room on the 20th Century Fox lot about to watch the film Wild. Oh, nice plug. Laura Dern, Diane's daughter, my mother in the film, and I had decided it would be a good idea to show the movie to our parents early so that they could prepare themselves. The intensely emotional story is based on the memoir by Cheryl Strayed about how she walked 1,000 miles on the PCT to recover from the devastating loss of her mother. There is a sort of immediate intimacy that happens when people play family members in a movie. It's hard to describe the process that actors go through, losing all inhibitions as fast as possible and falling in love or building a relationship in a matter of weeks. In the case of Laura and me, it took an hour. The first day of shooting, we filmed her death scene in a musty, dilapidated hospital. I threw my body on top of hers and wept while she dutifully kept her eyes sealed. The moment Jean-Marc Vallée yelled cut, we burst into laughter over the absurdity of our job. Wild is a good movie, by the way. It's a little... I don't know how to describe it, but I like it. During that shoot and the publicity tour that followed Dern, I called her Dern, and I shared so much. Our childhood dreams of being actors, our love of acting, and all the films that inspired us, our mutual friends or families. To say that she has become a dear friend would be an understatement. We consider ourselves sisters. If ever there were a process to make this legal, we would be there with documents in hand ready to pledge allegiance to each other. I'd gotten to know her 2 incredible children with her ex-husband, the musician Ben Harper. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Ellery, age 20, and J.S., age 16. So the next step was to meet each other's mothers, which brings us back to the 20th Century Fox slide. Sitting down with these women who'd raised us and watching them watch us model some of the very life lessons they taught us. Our mothers held hands during the whole film. At the end, they sat staring at the screen and crying quietly together for a long while. Laura and I did too. We all went to lunch afterward, and it was the beginning of a magical friendship. I have come to call Diane my other mother. Her her voice, a low Mississippi drawl, reminds me of of lightning bugs and sweet tea and bourbon. The way she carries herself so elegantly through rooms and dresses for every occasion, and always has endless, genuine, and effusive compliments for people she loves, and sharp words for those she doesn't, to me makes her the embodiment of Southern grace and charm, and I've never witnessed a better storyteller in my life. She's one typo, or not typo. She's one of my very favorite actors because of her ability to show a spectrum of human emotion with such authenticity. She can explore the depths of despair, break your heart into a million pieces, or tell the bodiest joke, sometimes all in the same scene. She brought her incredible talent to the films Chinatown, Ghosts of Mississippi, and The Cemetery Club. I haven't seen that one, the last one. And she was deservedly nominated by the Academy for her roles in Wild at Heart, Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore, and Ramblin' Rose. Not to mention her wonderful stage and television work. What a joy it was to see her and Laura play mother and daughter on the phenomenal HBO show Enlightened. Time magazine once said Diane is one of the top 10 actresses not only in this country but the whole world. Easy there. I could not agree more. She is the stuff legends are made of. That I kind of agree with. As for Laura, how do you describe a force of nature? She is a hurricane of creativity and intelligence, passion and humor, a gale force wind of ferocious love, a tidal wave of questions and curiosity. She's always ready to push an idea further out on a ledge, create necessary chaos, shake up stagnant rooms, wake everyone up. Growing up, Laura learned from her extraordinary parents how to use pathos and humor to create indelible characters. Her father is Bruce Dern, one of the most prolific and respected actors of his generation, known, of course, for his iconic roles in Coming Home and The Great Gatsby, and as the only actor ever given the honor of killing John Wayne in a movie. Should have been more. In the myriad important films her parents made, she saw them directed by Martin Scorsese, Mike Nichols, Roman Polanski, Hal Ashby, John Frankenheimer, yay, and Alfred Hitchcock. Family friends included Shelley Winters, Jack Nicholson, and Dennis Hopper. What a fucking life these people lead. Whew. Laura was nominated alongside her mother for an Oscar for her performance in Rambling Rose. She went on to deliver stellar performances in Wild at Heart and Citizen Ruth, both excellent movies, both essential viewing for any aspiring actors. And audience members don't have to aspire to. She gave Marmee boundless warmth in Little Women, and divorced lawyer Nora Fanshawe profound ruthlessness in Marriage Story. But my favorite of her performances has got to be the social climbing alpha female Renata Klein in Big Little Lies. Plug. Probably because I had a front row seat to watch magic happen. Yeah. Plug. Off screen too, she just cares a whole lot about people in the world, about relationships and communities. She cares about art and self-expression. On a set, she's like a child on the playground imagining the most elaborate game of make-believe, and you get to play it with her. That'd be fun. Every time I see her soar into her rightful place as the talented, brilliant woman she is, I'm overwhelmed with emotion and pride for my friend whose body of work is so singular and impactful. That I agree with. On Oscar night 2020, I sat at home in my PJs, shrieking with joy and snapping photos of my TV every time I spotted her on the red carpet. And when she won the Best Supporting Actress Oscar and dedicated it to her mom and dad, I burst into tears. So did I. I knew that sharing this historic Hollywood moment would be so important to them because of the many nominations they had received from the Academy separately and, in the case of Rambling Rose, together. Knowing their love of the industry and the respect they have for their peers, I was deeply moved to see their family's legacy cemented on stage that night. As far as I'm concerned, it remains one of the best Oscar moments ever. It was a great moment. Diane Ladd's face alone was priceless if you watch it. I recommend you watch it on YouTube. She looks like she's, like, been granted entrance into heaven. Her Diane Ladd's little face. It's hilarious and touching. Around that time, as her career reached a new pinnacle, Laura told me that her mother's health had taken a dramatic turn. A lung condition had made it hard for her to breathe. The doctor said she might have only a few months left to live. I was so moved when Laura told me that they'd begun taking walks every day to help her mother heal. And when she added that they'd begun taping the conversations they had during those walks to preserve Diane's stories for posterity. Goodness. In every mother-daughter relationship, there are memories that deserve time to be explored and re-examined through a different lens. We grow up. Our parents become vulnerable. How we handle these times is a true mark of our character. Knowing them both, I was not surprised to hear that in the conversations they were tackling trauma, joy, love, death, and every other topic, and that the walks were healing not just physically, but also emotionally and spiritually. Neither of these women ever takes one moment for granted. They ponder life's biggest questions fearlessly, always aware of how precious and fleeting our days can be. I have watched them argue and reconcile. I have watched them fall into a tender embrace after dinner. I have sat at their feet and learned from them, two of the most fabulous, glorious, talented women alive. Easy, Reese. Now that they have decided to share these walk and talks along with gorgeous family photos, tasty recipes, and reflections on so much that they've experienced separately and together, you get to join them as well. Bitchin'. Laura. The doctor visit started routine and turned serious. Tests. More tests. Then sitting there and learning that my only child mother, who had raised only child me, my constant companion, the person I rely on more than any other, will not be a permanent fixture in my life. We know we don't get each other for the whole ride. It's still shocking when your mother reaches her stop. The doctor gave her a time limit, 6 months. Hearing those words, I felt the walls crumbling around me. I lost my footing. Nothing made sense. But she's so strong, I thought. Impermeable, the hardest worker I know. She's never not working or writing or organizing or helping or fixing or reading and writing or reading and trying to learn more. And now her body is demanding she stop. I have no answers, and I am proud how well I can solve problems and break down walls, but maybe I can't fix this. I need a drink. I looked at my mother sitting beside me in that doctor's office. She seemed suddenly so frail and so uncertain. My eyes filled with tears. As I gazed at her, I thought, you can't die. You are too alive. You, my constant, have all these delicious qualities that no one else I know embodies. I need you to live. The doctor gave me only one thing to hold on to. He said it might help her oxygen levels if I could get her to walk a bit, expand her lung capacity. How could I make walking joyful when even a few steps exhausted her? I had to eliminate the prescription component and turn it into a creative challenge for my storyteller mom. To commit herself to healing, my mother would need to feel that this was an artistic job. She'd been cast as someone who walks, someone who recovers. As if in the Santa Monica version of the Arabian Nights, it became my job to keep her talking and therefore walking as long as possible. Just as sure, I can't pronounce that, delays her own death night after night by keeping the king entertained, so I hoped that her telling these stories would extend my mother's life. I thought these walks might be our final moments together. The only way I can cope with my fear of her dying is by making sure that we talk about everything and that we leave nothing unsaid. I get choked up. In the months that followed, we talked through happy memories and old wounds, some of which healed as a result of these conversations. I became closer to my mother than I ever had been before. I learned things about her I'd never known and discovered another side to stories from my childhood. I pushed her to walk farther than she thought possible and to talk honestly about even the most painful things. Her divorce from my father and a family tragedy that occurred before I was born and overshadowed my childhood. The death of my parents' first child. Oof, boy. We are sharing these intimate conversations here now in the hope that they will be inspiring to others. We are also including photographs, recipes, and reflections to pay tribute to all the things that make up our life together. I thought I was doing all this walking and reminiscing for my mother's sake, to give her peace and strength in her final months or years, and to let her know how she'd shaped me and how grateful I was for her example. But I would come to learn that this time with her was a gift for me as well. Back in that doctor's office, I didn't know yet that any of that would happen. When we began, I was just a scared daughter ready to do whatever it took to keep her mother alive. And so when we heard the prognosis, I turned and said, Mom, it's time we told her fuck. Mom, it's time we told each other everything. We deserve to know each other truly. Let's walk tomorrow and every day after until you are better. I will record our talks and we will have this forever. Our story saved on these recordings, committed to the page. Well, so that's the beginning of Honey Baby Mine. I think I'll read a chapter or two. But it's a great idea for a book. It's an easy idea for a book. Easy in the sense that you record it, you dictate it, someone types it up, you sell it. It's an easy sell. I still think it's a great idea. These are two fantastic actresses. And I grew up with Laura's films. And I haven't watched all of Diane's yet. But I have seen, like, Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore, Chinatown, Wild at Heart, which is insane. So, and I might talk about some of those later on, but let's get to a chapter. You, my constant, have all these delicious qualities that no one else I know embodies. I need you to live. Walk. Chapter 1, The Family Business. Okay, so they go back and forth between Laura and Diane. Laura. Okay, Mom. Here we go. A great parking spot. Look, how lucky we are. I know you're breathing heavy, but you can do this. Let's get out of the car and then just do half a block, okay? Diane, wheezing. I can't do it. I can't do it. Laura. Mom, how about just a few minutes? I'm here to lean on. Hey, tell me a story. Diane. A story? I'm about to drop dead and you want a story? Laura. Yes. Okay, let's get out and cross over to the walking path and start talking. Diane. Drive me across the street first. Laura. Mom, it's literally 11 steps across the street. Diane. Laura. It's so far from us. Laura. We're not going to drive to the other side of the street. We're parked. Let's go. Diane. It was already 30 steps to get to the car, across the street, then onto the sidewalk, and it's... Laura. Just remember, the doctor said with every step your lungs are expanding. You're getting more oxygen, you're getting better, and you'll get back on the set, okay? That's our goal. Diane. Right, that's our goal. Laura. And this isn't just from your daughter. This is someone who knows that no matter how you feel, the minute you start acting, you're suddenly cured of all ailments. But we have to get you strong enough to get back to that. And we can do it. Just give me 15 minutes a day, okay? Diane, are you sure? Laura, yes, I'm sure. Diane, that doctor said I'd be dead in 6 months, and he didn't even tell me. He took you aside and told you, the coward. Long pause, walking in silence. Do you believe him? Laura, I believe he's very smart about certain things, but I believe he's wrong about your prognosis. What were you thinking when you heard that? Diane, what do you think? It's terrifying. Laura, for me too, Mom. Let's prove him wrong, okay? I know you love life and you love being an actor, and you've got a lot more to say and do, so let's keep walking. From now on, we are no longer going to listen to what anybody believes will happen in 6 months. What we're going to do is be here in this moment together and do what we know we can to heal you, which is getting oxygen into your lungs. One step at a time, and we're just going to talk, right? Diane, all right. Dr. Dern, let me hold on to your arm. You've at least played a doctor on film, haven't you? Laura, only in Jurassic Park. But a pretend paleobotanist is practically a real pulmonologist, right? Diane, Laura, maybe you shouldn't listen to me, but I'm going to make you walk anyway. Diane, fine. I'm going to pretend the street is water and I've got Jesus' ability to walk on it, okay? Laura, if that's what you need to cross the street, Diane, yeah, hold my arm tight, St. Peter. Laura, whatever it takes. Diane, I've tried to walk on water many times in my life. I think I've been lucky to make it through a few mud puddles. Breathe hard. This hurts, Laura. Laura, Mom, I thought a natural place to start talking would be working together. I've been thinking a lot about what a gift it's been to work alongside you all these years at a job we both love. I mean, many people follow in their parents' footsteps and do the same job, but they usually don't work side by side. How lucky are we? Diane, I've always said that it's a gift when parents get to work with their children. Oh, remember that hat shop in New Orleans? Laura, yeah, I do. We saw the mother and daughter working on hats together. Diane, every feather, every pearl, every bauble was just so. And one time I was at the butcher shop and the butcher said, bursting with pride, that's my son helping me. I think a lot of parents want children to go into the same business. I didn't want you to go into the business. Laura, what are you talking about? Yes, you did. You were delighted when I booked jobs as a kid. Diane, no, Laura. Laura, what were you most worried about? Diane, my God in heaven, Laura, the rejection, the unsteadiness of it, never knowing when your next job will come, if there will even be another one. But I had to let you because of your talent and because you outsmarted me. You met a film agent at a party and said, my mom and daddy won't help me and I want to act. Laura, yeah, I was 10. We were at your friend Bo Hopkins' house. His agent was there. I knew she worked with children also and was very patient and seemed very kind. You guys had just finished the movie you made with Johnny and June Carter Cash. And so it felt familiar enough for me to hang out with you all and go up to his agent and say, my parents don't want to help me. Would you ever let me audition for you to see if you thought you would send me... Fuck. My parents don't want to help me. Would you ever let me audition for you to see if you thought you would send me out on an audition or two to get feedback? I didn't know about doing contrasting monologues or any of that. So I did a children's poem called The Little Peach by Eugene Field. To show her my range, I did it in seven different well-practiced and, in retrospect, completely ridiculous accents. She eventually sent me out on a few auditions, and you seemed okay with that. Diane, I was always proud of your work, but I was afraid for you. Laura, why? Diane, why? As if you don't know it. I wanted to protect you. It's hard. It's a hard business. Coughing fit. Laura, remember to breathe. Let's get the pulse oximeter out. I think your oxygen level just went down. Diane, I've got to sit down, Laura. I've got to sit down right here on the bench. Laura, no. Wait, Mom. Diane, come on. Let's go sit down. Look at the... Laura, I'll tell you what. Before you sit down, let's just take 2 relaxed, deep breaths so that we can talk more about the stress of the movie business. Laughs. Diane, if I sit down, I'll be able to take that deep breath. I can't take that deep breath if you won't let me sit down. I've got to sit. Laura, do you see that bench? It's about 10 feet ahead of us, and it's a better view of the water. Do you see it? Diane, oh boy. Pin a rose on me, that's far. Do I get a lollipop like at the doctor's if I have to do all that? Because you're starting to piss me off. Laura, yes, Mom. A lollipop or a sticker or a cocktail, whatever you like. Before we sit, take a deep breath. Because once we sit, we can take a nice long break. Deal? Diane, okay. But you talk for a minute while I catch my breath. What's new with Ellery and Jaya? Laura, oh, I'm about to freak you out. Ellery had a coffee yesterday with David Lynch, and David gave him a DVD of Wild at Heart. Holy shit. Or, well, the kid's 20, right? It's not that. If you're 20, I think I saw it before I was 20. Oh, fuck. I forget how old. That's hilarious. I have my DVD copy right here because I got a screen grab from it. Where the fuck is it? I just read their ages, I thought. I forget. They're old enough, though. If they're they're old enough. Diane, he did? Laura, apparently Ellery's been watching all his movies, and he said to David, I can't find Wild at Heart anywhere. So David gave him the DVD, but when he did, he said, wait to watch this one until you're 30. And Ellery said, why? Is my mom crazy in it? And he said, it's not you seeing your mom I'm worried about. It's you seeing your grandmother that might be worth the wait. Diane laughs. Hilarious. He's not wrong. Were you worried about Ellery watching it? Laura, oh, I forbade him from watching it. I might show him a few scenes, especially one that's a particularly special memory I have of working with you. Can you guess what scene I mean? Diane, the one in the police station? Laura, yes, where Sailor is locked up and I'm crying on the bench? Diane, before the scene, we were on opposite sides of the set doing our different preparations. You knew even then that you have to build that wall between you and the crew and your other actors, so you were alone in the scene. And they started shooting, and I came in and I said, "Oh, honey, baby." We sat on that lonely bench in that police station, and we both cried together, sobbed. You were using your own private memory. I was using mine. At the end of the scene, we looked up and into each other's faces. You knew what I was thinking about. You could feel it. And as I looked into your eyes, I knew what you were feeling. Laura, that was crazy. I was seeing you there at the same time that I was seeing your character. I saw you and I thought, here is the woman who knows me better than anyone. There was no acting in that moment. I was just a daughter reacting to her mother. That's one of my favorite moments as an actress, getting to be in that scene with you. Diane, but that moment when we looked in each other's eyes, it was like we saw each other standing there naked with everyone else clothed. We witnessed each other's vulnerability. And do you remember what happened? Laura, we started laughing. Diane, we burst out laughing like little kids giggling, like kids getting the giggles in church. Laura, when your job is to tell the truth and the person you're working with knows you really well, they're going to know if it's bullshit. You can't cheat and you can't escape. We were so lucky to not only have our own artistic bond, but to have someone like David Lynch who felt like family and allowed us to be part of his work. Here's a question for you. Why why would we be muses to David Lynch and not someone like John Hughes? Diane. Ha. I guess he just suits us better or sees us in a specific way. Laura. Even before we all became such good friends, he knew how to read both our needs in one moment. After Wild at Heart wrapped, remember you and Martha Coolidge gave me a birthday party at her house, my 21st birthday. I can't remember. Was it a surprise party? Diane. Yes, it was. A beautiful, wonderful party. Sweet Martha outdid herself. She had a ton of food and a horse for people to ride because her home bordered a ranch. Laura. It was a small group. I remember the other Diane Ladd was there, aka Diane Lane. Everyone confused your names. David brought me to set me up for the surprise. My amazing girlfriends were there. Belina Logan, Moon Zappa, Brooke Shields, Mandy Foreman. When you brought my birthday cake out with my face on it, David was able to compliment you on the cake while acknowledging my trauma. I think he said something like, Diane Ladd, that cake is the most creative way to make sure your daughter is unstable enough to want to play interesting women for the rest of her life. And I said, meaning you've just traumatized your daughter into a lifelong path of therapy and art. Diane, I thought it was a magical, caring thought to have your beautiful face on top of your cake. I had to go to a different city to get it done. Laura, well, thank you, I guess, but still traumatizing. And man, David knows us both so well. Do you remember the premiere of Wild at Heart? Diane, yes, that's when you and Nick Cage were into wearing matching outfits. You showed up that night in those matching Richard Tyler suits in burgundy satin. He had a men's suit, and you had that micro mini. Laura, oh, I love that outfit. That was such a special movie for us. But when it came out, we were so nervous about Grandma seeing it. Yeah, I bet, because there's like her tits are out half the time, and like Willem Dafoe almost rapes her. David even said at the premiere, "Oh, Mary's here," and seemed curious how she'd take it. We were all wondering the same thing. How would this 5'1" Alabama Catholic grandmother, oh God, respond to this radical movie in which her daughter and granddaughter are pretty boundaryless? Diane, yes. And then as soon as the movie finished, you remember what she said? Laura, yep. She went right up to David and said, "Ooh, I loved it. That movie was so cute." And Nicholas seems just like Elvis. Jesus Christ. Diane, that's right. We all looked at each other like, cute? What movie did she just see? Coughs. Laura, just take a nice, relaxed breath. You've got your oxygen helping you. Good. Diane, I really need to sit down, Laura. I really want to sit down, Laura. Laura, of course, but let's just go to the next bench and then I'll hold you like you held me in Enlightened when I was having a panic attack. Oh, this is Plug City. Diane, oh, that did feel special. Laura, yes, remember? I was sitting on a bed. Luke Wilson's character had come back from rehab with a letter for me. And I just started the thing with Dermot Mulroney's character, the Los Angeles Times journalist. Todd Haynes, our director, put you and me alone in a room together to just be together quietly with the camera, and he kept the crew out. And of course, we kept a bit of that show with us. I'm thinking of Ginger. Diane, oh, I love that dog. Ginger had the soul of a human. Laura, don't you think it's a little weird that you adopted her off that set, Mom? Diane, what are you talking about? She was retiring from show business, so I had to take her in. Laura, but in the show, the dog is my nemesis. Every time I had a scene with a dog, I was saying things like, shut up, Ginger, or fuck you, Ginger. The dog was trained to bark whenever I came into the room. Does that really seem like a good pet for you? Diane, Laura, the grandkids made me adopt her, but I guess she was scared of you for a while. Laura, yeah, I screamed at her for 2 years on that show, and you adopted her with this built-in knowledge that she was going to hate me. Diane, well, she did get over that eventually. Wait, what time is it? You've hypnotized me, Laura, and now I'm coming out of it. I'm so tired. Laura, we can turn around and walk back now. How are you feeling about your lungs? Are you able to believe you're getting better? Diane, here's the really good thing, honey. There was no doctor in my head today because I was busy talking to you. There was no trouble with my lungs because I was busy listening to my daughter. But I can't walk this much every day. I can't do it, honey. My lungs hurt so much now. Laura, well, they're sore because you're pushing oxygen in there, and that's a good thing. You're pushing through scar tissue, but you're also getting healthier with every step, and you have to trust it. Day by day, it'll work. You'll see. Laura, how grateful I am that Mom and I have gotten to the chance to work together. First time was in David Lynch's 1990 movie, Wild at Heart, in which we played a mother and daughter. David had been my primary mentor since I was 17. The casting director on his movie Blue Velvet knew me from a few things by that point, so I got a call asking me to meet with David. He doesn't do traditional auditions, preferring to go on instinct. So he invited Kyle MacLachlan and me for lunch to get a sense of the two of us together. We'd never met before. We went to Bob's Big Boy and shared a french fries. We wound up doing the movie together and later became a couple. Oh, I didn't know that. Kyle, David, and I spent a lot of time together having dinners and hanging out. David is such a visionary and such a meticulous artist. In addition to me being a genius, he is also the kindest person. Mom often joined us for these meals, and they became close too. When he read Wild at Heart, the Barry Gifford novel, David called me saying he wanted me to play Lula and Mom to play Marietta. I was so excited. The first scene Mom and I shot for Wild at Heart was one in which I came down the stairs and Mom pointed a finger at me to warn me off of my boyfriend Sailor, played by Nicolas Cage. She said, "Don't you dare talk to that boy again." Well, I burst out laughing and wrecked the take. I was 22 and I'd had that same finger wagging at me my whole life. Mom started laughing and then so did the crew. They all knew, I think, how hilarious it was for us to be acting out this insane version of our relationship. In the film, I even hallucinate her flying on a broomstick alongside my car dressed as the Wicked Witch from The Wizard of Oz. Let me tell you, it's a crazy thing when you see your mother dressed as the Wicked Witch of the West. That's like 20 years of therapy in an hour. That's hilarious. People sometimes imagine that playing this extreme antagonistic mother and daughter would be stressful, but filming with her was a total joy. The weirder it got, the more fun it was. That's all thanks to David, who has become my best male friend. He and I call each other the Tidbit. He started calling me that when we were doing Blue Velvet. When I asked him what it meant, he said, a little bit of Tid, a little something special. One day, on the set of Wild at Heart, while my mom was getting her Wicked Witch makeup put on, Nicolas Cage came over to me and pointed to her and said, "Look over there, that's your mom." I said, "I know." People sometimes imagine that playing this extreme antagonistic mother and daughter would be stressful, but filming with her was a total joy. That the weirder it got, the more fun it was. They put this caption under a picture of David, Bellina, Diane, and Laura. It's a pretty picture. It's pretty. Diane. As we made our first drive up to the Palisades Bluffs in Santa Monica for a walk, I kept looking over at Laura in the driver's seat. She looked so determined. When it comes to these walks, I can tell she means business. I want to go along with her plan, but I'm scared and I can't let her know it. I'm also furious that I'm sick. My doctor, I, and many people in my town believe that my condition is due to industrial farming in my area. They were spraying in my neighborhood with pesticides, like we were cockroaches, for 3 years. Without telling me, over 10 pesticides were being sprayed, including glyphosate, which can cause all sorts of terrible things. It was only after my dog Ginger was poisoned by the air and died in my arms that I began to realize what was happening. I was left with lungs so severely damaged that I can barely breathe. I went to one doctor after another, and no one gave me the right answers. Are you sure you're not a smoker? They asked, looking at my scans. For 1 year, decades ago, I smoked. That's it. I was given one misdiagnosis after another. Vertigo from an inner ear infection and esophageal disorder. Finally, they called it idiopathic pulmonary fibrosis, IPF. And they confirmed to me that the pesticides were the cause. Oh my God. Such bad scarring in a non-smoker almost always comes from environmental toxins. Interesting. Now I can't stop gasping, and Laura is going to make me exercise? The pulmonary specialist, another of these fancy doctors who knew everything and talk about me like I'm not there, told Laura, even if she only walks half a block, that will make a difference. It's about getting the lungs to work harder for 15 minutes a day. Don't let her stop before 15 minutes, whatever it takes. 15 minutes? 15 seconds feels impossible. I have oxygen going into my nose through a cannula. The doctor said I might be hooked up to this machine for the rest of my life. Terrifying. But what upsets me most is Laura seeing how weak I am. That day at the doctor's office when we got the news, she broke down. She said, but I still need you, Mom. You can't leave me. Now all I can think of is that on one of these walks, I'm going to fall down dead on the sidewalk. I picture Laura having to call an ambulance standing over my body as a crowd gathers. How can I walk as much as she wants to when I'm terrified of dying in front of her? The pain from my lung scarring is incredible. My esophagus has shrunk and I'm starving. People bring soup, mashed potatoes, milkshakes, but whatever I can get down isn't enough. I wake up at 4:30 in the morning, staring at the ceiling, depressed, exhausted, hungry, hurting. I'm sure that Laura dragging me out into the sunshine is the right thing, but it's hard in every way. I don't want to think about dying. So many questions keep going through my head. What if I'm not around to see my grandchildren grow up? What if I'm not there when they need me? Will I miss their heartbreaks, their marriages, their babies? What keeps me going is that desperate longing to do more. I worry that I didn't hold my loved ones enough, that I didn't ask the right questions or give the right answers. I imagine myself in a coffin, pounding on the lid, saying, wait, just one more week, one more day, one more minute, don't bring the curtain down yet. Oh my. Diane Ladd, that cake is the most creative way to make sure your daughter is unstable enough to want to play interesting women for the rest of her life. It's cute. All right. So that was the forward in the chapter to Honey Baby Mine. And it gets me emotional because they're both talking about death and what it means to each person in the relationship of a mother-daughter relationship. It's something that I don't ever want to think about or talk about, but you can only ignore it for so long. It exists, and it's something you're going to have to face. And they have a lot of luxury to face it, which doesn't make it better or doesn't mean it's not going to happen, but they've had a hell of a life, both separately and together, and I think I can get through this book before I have to return it to the library, but that was good. That was the first chapter. They don't need to repeat the quotes, but, well, they can do whatever they want. It's their book, I guess. So. But Wild at Heart, I have that movie right here by me, a DVD. And I've seen it, like, in its entirety, maybe, like, 2 or 3 times. And I really couldn't tell you the plot. I know certain scenes that stand out. Um, let's see. Let me read the wiki. Fuck, if I could type it correctly. Violet Heart and Weird on Top. This world. Black comedy. Lovers Lula and Sailor are separated after he is jailed for killing a man who attacked him with a knife. The assailant, Bobby Ray Lemon, was hired by Lula's mother. Okay, I remember that. Marietta Fortune. Upon Sailor's release, Lula picks him up outside of prison where she hands him his snakeskin jacket. I forget the quote. Something individuality that he said 50,000 times. They go to a hotel where she reserved a room, make love, and go to see the speed metal band Power Mad. At the club, Sailor gets into a fight with a man who flirts with Lula and then leads the band into a rendition of Elvis Presley's song Love Me. I thought it was Love Me. Tender, but it Love Me. Later, back in their hotel room, after making love again, Sailor and Lula finally decide to run away to California, breaking Sailor's parole. Marietta arranges for Private Detective Johnny Farragut, her on-again, off-again boyfriend, to find them and bring them back. But unbeknownst to Farragut, Marietta also hires a gangster, Marcello Santos, to track them and kill Sailor. Jesus. Santos's minions capture and kill Farragut, sending Marietta into a guilt-fueled psychosis. This was a book. When was the book published? This is my ADD. 1990? Okay. That review isn't very good. Unaware of all the events happening back in North Carolina, Lula and Sailor continue on their way until they witness, according to Lula, a bad omen, the aftermath of a 2-car accident and the only survivor, a young woman, dying in front of them. With little money left, Sailor heads for Big Tuna, Texas, where he contacts his old acquaintance Perdita Durango, who might be able to help them, although she secretly knows Lula's mother has a contract out for his murder. Lula, who has been feeling ill, tells Sailor she is pregnant with his child, while Sailor is changing their car's oil. Lula waits for him in the hotel room. Bobby Peru enters the room and threatens to sexually assault Lula, forcing her to ask him to have sex with her before leaving, stating that he has no time. This traumatizes Lula, who was raped as a child. Now that scene is really good. It's really disturbing. It's really sexy and really funny. And it's like, and it's all like, it's because of David. It's because of Laura and Willem. And it makes you feel fucked up for finding it funny because it's so disturbing. But it's a very good acting scene, and it's a very good film scene. This is a very weird movie that I forbade my mother to watch. Not knowing about Peru's abuse of Lula, Sailor agrees to accompany him to a bar over beers. Peru enlists Sailor's help in robbing a nearby feed store, which allegedly keeps $5,000 in cash on hand. The robbery goes spectacularly wrong when Peru unnecessarily shoots the 2 store clerks. Peru then admits to Sailor that he has been hired to kill him, and Sailor realizes he has been given a pistol with dummy ammunition. They're dummies, dummy. Chasing Sailor out of the store, Peru is about to kill him when the sheriff's deputy opens fire on him, and Peru blows his own head off with his own shotgun. That scene is hilarious. Sailor is arrested and sentenced to 6 years in prison. While Sailor is in jail, Lula has their child. Upon his release, Lula decides to reunite with him, rejecting her mother's objections over the phone. She throws water over her mother's photograph and goes to pick up Sailor with their son. When they meet Sailor, he reveals he will be leaving them both, having decided that mother and son are better off without his influence. While he was walking a short distance away, Sailor encounters a gang whose members surround him. He insults them, and they quickly knock him out. While unconscious, he sees a vision in the form of Glinda the Good Witch, who tells him, "Don't turn away from love, Sailor." When he awakens, Sailor apologizes to the men. He tells them he realizes the error of his ways and then runs after Lula. The photograph of Marietta in Lula's house sizzles and vanishes. And there is a traffic jam on the road. Sailor begins to run over the roofs and hoods of the cars to get back to Lula and their child in the car. Sailor sings "Love Me Tender" to Lula, having earlier said that he would only sing that song to his wife. It is a good movie, but David made this when he was breaking away from Twin Peaks. And I am a fan of David Lynch. I don't know what my favorite is. I love Eraserhead and I love The Elephant Man. He's a great filmmaker. I do think that he thinks of things and kind of just, okay, if it was like a corkboard and you had like push pins or tacks and ideas and note cards and you just threw them up there, threw up the cards, threw up the tacks, and then whatever stuck wherever it stuck, and that's your movie. Or you scotch tape them and that's your movie. I feel like he has ideas and they're not exactly cohesive. I know this was Wild at Heart was an adaptation from a novel, but these elements of like the Wizard of Oz and like, I don't know, gangsters and Elvis and just fucking, which the whole Elvis angle, I wonder if it was in the novel or if it came from Nicolas Cage, because Nicolas Cage wasn't as obsessed with Elvis. And like it's okay sometimes, but sometimes it gets old. But this movie, it's fun to watch him because they are kind of as she wrote, a boundaryless, and it's great to watch people just go for it when they're creating something, even if it's absurd. Which this film is absurd in many ways. Just look at Bobby Peru's teeth. It's so absurd. This thing cost $10 million to make back in 1990, jeez, or 89 probably. A lot of fucking money. Now you can't even find the DVD, which I have, which I'm not giving up. Good luck getting it from me. You won't. So, do I like it? Yeah. Will I watch it a lot of times? No, probably. But I might watch it again somewhere down the road. Black comedy romantic crime film. Barry Gifford wrote the novel, the 1989 novel. He went on to write the original screenplay for Lost Highway. Ooh. So David must have liked working with Barry if they collaborated again. Wild at Heart. Oh, there's it's a series. Sailor's Holiday, The Wild Life of Sailor and Lula. 59 Degrees in Rating, The Story of Perdita Durango. Oh my god, there's how many fucking novels? 8? And then 8 novels in the series, and then a Sailor and Lula expanded edition. I did not know that. I had no idea it was a whole series. Interesting. I don't know that I'd ever read it, but Sailor and Lula, the expanded edition. Interesting. I had no idea. The complete novels. I don't know if I want to read this whole saga. Sailor and Lula. On the 20th anniversary of the publication of Barry Gifford's international bestseller Wild at Heart, as well as the anniversary of the Palme d'Or winning film adaptation by David Lynch, all the novels and novellas. Okay, so they're not all novels. Some of them are novellas. But it's the complete saga of Sailor Ripley and Lula Pace Fortune, the Romeo and Juliet of the South. Okay. Interesting. It's got good reviews from either real people or paid bots. Definitely weird on top. Interesting. But yeah, Diane Ladd. Let's look at her filmography. Don't turn away from love, sailor. I have seen. Oh gosh. Chinatown. Alice doesn't live here anymore. National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, which is boring. Wild at Heart. I've seen. I have not seen Rambling Rose yet. Gotta watch that one. I've seen Citizen Ruth is brilliant. I love that movie. It's excellent. Ghost of Mississippi is great. Um, I've seen 28 Days. Inland Empire, which is insane. That movie, what I said before about kind of having ideas and throwing them at the wall and whatever sticks and wherever it sticks. He really just made up shit on the spot and just scotch taped it together. And yet I've seen Inland Empire more than I've seen Wild at Heart. And Inland Empire has a runtime of like 3 goddamn hours. 180 minutes. Doesn't make any sense. So she plays who does she play in that? Marilyn. From there, and around the world. Where stars make dreams and dreams make stars. Let's see. And that's it. I haven't really, and I mean, I've seen The World's Fastest Indian. But I haven't really seen a lot of her work. I hate to say it, but a lot of her work doesn't really stand out to me. The Cemetery Club, directed by Bill Duke, who's an excellent director. He directed Sister Act, I think, one or two or both. Let's see. He directed Sister Act 2. Oh, he was in it? I swear he directed it. I'm confused. Films directed. Let's see. Yeah. Sister Act 2. Bill Duke is fantastic. I finally watched Car Wash a few years ago, and I don't want to spoil it, but he was incredible in it. I was blown away with his performance. He has such a beautiful face, and his eyes are tremendous. So to see that, okay, how did I get to? Oh, The Cemetery Club. He directed Ellen Burstyn, Olympia Dukakis, Diane Ladd, Danny Aiello. Oh, and Christina Ricci. Oh, I gotta see if this is on YouTube. That would be bitching, because I'd probably ditch this and go watch that. I doubt it is, but let me see. I'd have to check on Tubi. The Cemetery Club? How have I not seen this? Fire Rent? Nope. 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 Fuck. Fuck. I'll have to check Tubi. Okay, was it a play? I keep seeing different incarnations of it. Let me see. Fuck. How do I get back to it? Written by... No. No, it was written for the screen, apparently. Unless I'm missing something. Interesting. Okay, I don't want to read the plot, because I haven't seen it. Christina Ricci's in it. It's like the only 1990s Christina Ricci movie I haven't seen. I love Christina. I feel like I've seen every other one. Okay. Interesting. But back to Diane Ladd. I hate to admit it, but I really haven't seen a lot of her films. The Reavers, I have. My dad made me watch that. I don't really remember much of it, but because I'm not a Steve McQueen fan. He's a bastard. But I do want to watch Rambling Rose. What was the other one? Something Wild. Isn't what's her face? Okay, I thought Vivian Lee was in it, but I guess not. Independent drama, neo-noir psychological thriller. Carol Baker. Ralph Meeker, who was in Kiss Me Deadly. Very handsome, very good actor. And maybe that's where I got it. And it's also a part of the Criterion Collection, and I get that Something Wild mixed up with the Melanie Griffith and what's this? Bill Pullman, I think. Something Wild. 1990s or the 80s. It's a horrible cover art. No. Melanie Griffith and Jeff Daniels. I'm getting that mixed up with Lost Highway. Ugh. But Ray Liotta's, I think, debut, and he is excellent. And I finally watched that like last year, and that's a good movie. But like her tits are out half, and it's just like, why? I know why, but Melanie's great in it. And I feel like people don't take Melanie seriously because she does kind of play like a ditzy blonde, but she's great. But Something Wild, Carol Baker. Maybe that's on YouTube. That'd be dope. Let's see. And Diane Ladd is in that. Something Wild. 1961. Of course it's not. Why would it be? Something I want to watch is never for free. I could torrent it, but I don't know how. I don't want to fuck up my computer. Fuck. Alright. I finally watched Marty, which was excellent. Because that was finally free on YouTube. Marty with Ernest Borgnine. And that was really good. I watched the Rod Steiger and Nancy Marchand version. And that was before the film version. Let's see. Marty. Fuck. Teleplay by Patty Chayefsky. I have this book of Patty Chayefsky's works. In his collected television plays, 1955, Chayefsky recalled, I set out in Marty to write a love story, the most ordinary love story in the world. I didn't want my hero to be handsome, and I didn't want the girl to be pretty. I wanted to write a love story the way it would literally have happened to the kind of people I know. The actor who played Marty, Rod Steiger, is one of the most gifted young actors in the theater. I owe him a genuine debt of gratitude for all that he contributed to this show. And Delbert Mann was the director. Brilliant director, brilliant writer, Patty Chayefsky. Great piece. I was ambivalent about the television play. I do think the movie's better, and maybe I should rewatch the television play. But seeing a young Nancy Marchand, let me see, 1953, she was like 24 years old. She looks like a baby in this. She's adorable. It's a stark, simple portrait of a gentle, lonely man played by Rod Steiger who lives with his mother, works as a butcher, and longs for a loving relationship as he heads towards middle age. I'm 36 years old, and I've been looking for a girl every Saturday night of my life, he tells his best friend. I'm that fat, little, ugly guy, and girls don't go for me, that's all. It's just that sort of unfettered sentiment that gives the drama such powerful resonance. It's a good movie. And Ernest does good, and Rod Steiger does good. Rod Steiger's a good actor. Serious actor. Closely associated with the art of method acting. I'm not smart. The Pawnbroker is excellent. I don't think I've still seen On the Waterfront yet. Yeah, I haven't watched a lot of his work either. I'm kind of ashamed to admit. Looks like he did a lot of B movies later in life. Maybe he wasn't getting the jobs. But yeah, Marty was good. So they did the television adaptation of the play and then the film adaptation. And I learned that Betsy Blair was one of the wives of Gene Kelly. Crazy, right? Anyway, Diane Ladd, great actress. Laura Dern, I'm more familiar with her work because I grew up more in her time frame. I think I'll read the rest of the book soon. I have to finish it soon because I gotta get back, or else I'm gonna go to library jail and pay 40 cents for an overdue book. But I wanted to read a little bit of Diane Ladd and Laura book. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed it. I love the thumbnail. I wanted to get a better one, but it's I had to capture it. Maybe I'll change it. I don't know. But anyhow, thanks for listening.